Picture this. You're a fan of one of the most successful football clubs in your country's history. Your team has won everything. League titles, continental trophies, they play beautiful, dominant football. The city loves them. The world is watching, and then something breaks. Not a player, not a manager, not a contract, something else. Because over the next 2 decades, your team will reach the final 9 times. 9, and every single time, they will find a new, more spectacular, more gut-wrenching way to lose. They will blow 4-goal leads. They will miss penalties in the dying seconds. They will collapse when the trophy is literally within arm's reach. It gets so bad, so legendary, so historically bad, that an entirely new word enters the Spanish language because of them. Not a nickname, not a hashtag, an actual word. In the actual dictionary, that word? Cruzazulear por to Cruz Azul something. To snatch defeat from the jaws of victory so dramatically, so completely, so painfully, that your failure becomes a verb. This is the story of Cruz Azul, the most cursed club in football history that you've probably never heard of. And trust me, by the end of this video, you will never forget them. To understand just how devastating this curse really was, you need to understand what Cruz Azul used to be. Cruz Azul wasn't born as a football club. It was born as a cement factory. In 1927, in a small town called Yaso, in the Mexican state of Hidalgo, workers at the Cooperativa La Cruz Azul, a cement cooperative, started kicking a ball around. It was a hobby, a pastime, something to do after long days of manual labor. Nobody imagined it would become one of the most famous clubs in North American football. By 1960, the club had turned professional. By 1964, they had earned promotion to Mexico's top flight. And then, almost immediately, something clicked. Cruz Azul began to dominate. Between 1969 and 1980, in what fans still call La Época Dorada, the Golden Age, Cruz Azul won 6 league championships. 6. In 11 years. They won 3 consecutive titles from 1971 to 1973. They won CONCACAF continental trophies. In 1969, they achieved something no Mexican club had ever done, a historic treble, the League, the Copa Mexico, and the CONCACAF Champions Cup. All in the same season. They were unstoppable, brilliant, a machine, which is exactly what their nickname, La Máquina Celeste, the Sky Blue Machine, was meant to represent. Not just the cement factory machinery their founders worked with, but the relentless, grinding, unstoppable force of this football club. By the 1990s, Cruz Azul was still competing at the highest level. Big names, big crowds, big expectations. And then came 1997, the Clausura 1997 final. Cruz Azul versus León. Cruz Azul had been building toward this. They had hunger, they had quality, they had momentum. And going into the second leg of the final, they held a lead on aggregate. They were close. So close, they won. They lifted the trophy. The 9th league title was theirs. But here's the thing. Nobody knew at the time. Nobody could have known. That was the last time Cruz Azul would win the Mexican League for 23 years. 2 to 3 years would pass. Okay, rebuilding phase, it happens. 5 years. Strange but not unheard of. 10 years. People start asking questions. 15 years. Journalists start writing think pieces. 20 years. A new generation of fans grows up having never seen their club win the title. 23 years. But here's what makes it so much worse than just a long drought. Cruz Azul didn't disappear. They didn't fall to the lower leagues. They didn't lose their best players and become a mid-table club that everyone forgets about. No, they kept almost winning. Over and over and over again. And that is what made it a curse. Let's walk through them. Because each one deserves to be remembered. Final number 1. Invierno 1999 versus Pachuca. 2 years after their last title, Cruz Azul is back in a final. The football world nods. Okay, they're still a big club, this makes sense. The game goes to extra time. And then Pachuca scores a golden goal. A single strike in overtime that ends the match instantly. No chance to respond. No second chance, just over. Cruz Azul fans go home. It hurts, but it's one final. These things happen. Final number 2. Verano 2001 versus Santos Laguna. Cruz Azul is competing in the Copa Libertadores, South America's most prestigious club tournament, at the same time. They reach the Libertadores final. The final? Against Boca Juniors, one of the greatest club sides in Argentine history. All of Mexico is watching. All of Latin America is watching. They lose, and then, in the same year, they lose the Liga MX final too. 2 finals. Same year, both lost. The fans start to wonder, is something wrong? Not tactically wrong, spiritually wrong? Final number 3. Clausura 2004. 7 years without a title now. Cruz Azul reaches another final. They lose again. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Final number 4. Apertura 2008 versus Deportivo Guadalajara, the Cruz Azul battles through the playoffs. They reach the final against Chivas, one of Mexico's most beloved clubs. It goes to a decisive moment. Cruz Azul loses. At this point, rival fans have started talking. There's a theory developing, a dark, half-joking, half-serious theory. Cruz Azul is cursed, but nothing prepares anyone for what happens next. Final number 5. Clausura 2013, the one that breaks you. This is the one. If you ever want to understand Cruz Azul's curse, this is the match you need to see. Cruz Azul versus Club America, one of Mexican football's greatest rivalries. The final? 2 legs, first leg, Cruz Azul wins. Away from home. Against America, in their own stadium. Cruz Azul wins the first leg and returns home with momentum, with confidence, with everything they need. Second leg is at Estadio Azul, Cruz Azul's home ground. In front of their own fans, with a lead already in hand, the atmosphere is electric. The fans believe, the players believe, and then something happens. Something that has no logical explanation. Something that seems to confirm every dark whisper, every superstitious fan's worst fear. Cruz Azul collapses. They concede. They panic. The lead evaporates. America, the rivals, the team everyone in that stadium hates the most, walk away with the trophy. In Cruz Azul's own stadium, in front of Cruz Azul's own fans. 16 years without a title. Now, the verb Cruzazulear is officially born. It spreads across Mexican football culture like wildfire. Sports commentators use it. Fans use it. Comedians use it. When any team, not just Cruz Azul, throws away a lead at the last minute, people say it. They totally Cruz Azul at it. The word even lands on the radar of the Real Academia Española. The Royal Spanish Academy, the official institution, that decides which words enter the Spanish language. A football club's failure becomes linguistic history. But we're not done yet. Final number 6. Apertura 2018, 5 more years have passed. Cruz Azul has new players, new managers, new hope. They reach another final. Against Chivas again, they lose again. 21 years. 6 finals, 6 losses, and then, just when you think the story is finally about to end, comes the moment that might be the single most painful sporting event in Mexican football. History, the year is 2020. Not a final this time, a semifinal. Cruz Azul versus Pumas. First leg. Cruz Azul wins 4-0. Read that again. 4-0 in football. In any football league on earth, if you win the first leg of a 2-legged tie 4-0, you are through. You are done. You have won. Everyone goes home and you prepare for the final, unless you are Cruz Azul. Second leg. Pumas score. Okay, fine. 4-1 on aggregate. Still Cruz Azul Pumas score again. 4-2. Okay, it's getting a bit nervy, but Cruz Azul are still through. Pumas score again. 4-3. The stadium is silent. Something is happening. Something impossible. And then Pumas score again. 4-4 on aggregate. Extra time, and then Pumas go through. Cruz Azul, with a 4-goal lead, are eliminated. The Mexican internet explodes. The story goes international. Sports media around the world runs the headline, Cruz Azul eliminated after blowing 4-0 lead, and a singer named Eden Munoz sits down and writes a song. A love song called La Cruzazulé Contigo. I Cruz Azuled it with you. About a relationship that fell apart when it was going perfectly. About throwing away something beautiful when you had every reason to hold on. A football club's curse had become so culturally embedded in Mexico that it was now inspiring pop music. 23 years, 6 lost finals, 1 4-0 collapse, 1 new word in the Spanish language, 1 pop song, and still, no title. 2021, a new tournament, a new season, And a new manager. His name is Juan Reynoso. Here's why that matters. Juan Reynoso was not just any coach. He was a former Cruz Azul player. More specifically, he was the captain of the Cruz Azul team that won the last title. In 1997, the same year the curse began. Think about that for a moment. The man who lifted the trophy in 1997, the last time Cruz Azul won anything, is now returning, 24 years later, as the manager. To try and break the curse that started the day he retired, it sounds like a movie. A Netflix series, something Hollywood would be too afraid to pitch because it seems too unrealistic. Reynoso takes the job, he brings discipline, he brings belief, and he brings something else, the memory of what it felt like to win. Cruz Azul under Reynoso starts the season poorly. 2 defeats from the opening games. The curse seems alive and well. The doubters come out immediately, but then something shifts. Cruz Azul win, and win again. And again, they go on a 12-game winning streak, tying the all-time Liga MX record. They finish the regular season at the top of the table with 41 points from 17 matches. Dominant, relentless, a machine again. Just like the old days, they reach the final against Santos Laguna first leg. Away from home, Cruz Azul win 1-0. A goal from Luis Romo in the 28th minute. 1 game left. The second leg is at the Estadio Azteca, the same stadium where Pele's Brazil won the 1970 World Cup, where Maradona's hand of God shocked the world in 1986, one of the most historic sporting venues on the planet. And on May 30th, 2021, the 2 teams walk out onto that pitch. And the entire history of Cruz Azul hangs in the air. The goalkeeper, José de Jesus Corona, is 40 years old. 40. In football terms, that's ancient. He has won Copa MX titles, CONCACAF trophies, an Olympic gold medal with Mexico's national team. In a career spanning nearly 2 decades, he had won nearly everything in the Mexican game, but never a Liga MX title. This is his last chance. The match kicks off. Santos equalize, 1-1 on the night, 2-1 to Cruz Azul on aggregate. Every Cruz Azul fan watching holds their breath. Every single person who has watched this club collapse in finals, who watched the 4-0 lead disappear, who remembers 2013, remembers 2008, remembers 1999, they are all waiting for it to happen again. The minutes tick by. 90 minutes. Added time begins and the final whistle blows. Cruz Azul have done it. 23 years. 7 lost finals. A 4-0 collapse. A verb in the Spanish dictionary. A pop song. And now, finally, a champion. The scenes that follow are almost impossible to describe. Players on the pitch, some of them weeping. Fans in the stands, the ones who were allowed in because COVID restrictions had limited the crowd, screaming, crying, holding each other. Corona, the 40-year-old goalkeeper, falls to his knees. He lifts his face to the sky. Reynoso, the man who won the last one in 1997, the man who came back to break the curse, raises the trophy. Somewhere in Mexico, someone opens a laptop and searches Cruzazulear. But this time, the story ends differently. Here's what I want you to think about. Cruz Azul's curse wasn't caused by bad players. Their squad during those 23 years was consistently valued as one of the most expensive in Liga MX. They weren't a small club. They weren't underfunded. They weren't unlucky in the sense of being a weak team that just never quite made it. They were good enough to win. That's what made it so devastating. Every team that spends years without a title has a reason. Finances, poor ownership, league structure working against them. Something you can point to and say, that's why they can't win. Cruz Azul had none of those excuses, and that's why people started talking about a curse. Not because anyone truly believed in supernatural forces, but because the human mind, faced with something it cannot explain rationally, reaches for the irrational. The curse became a story, and stories are how we make sense of the world. Cruzazulear became a word not because Mexican football fans are dramatic, but because they recognize something universal in Cruz Azul's suffering. The experience of being so close, so ready, is so deserving, and watching it slip away anyway. We have all Cruz Azul had something, a job interview that went perfectly, until the last question, a relationship that seemed right, until it wasn't, a project that was almost finished, Before everything fell apart, Cruz Azul turned that feeling into football, and football turned it into language. So here's where we leave Cruz Azul. The curse is broken, officially, since 2021. They have continued to compete, to win trophies, to make news. Just last night, in fact, they drew 2-2 with Guadalajara in a dramatic Liga MX semifinal. The machine is still running, but the word remains, Cruzazulear. It's still used by fans of every team, in arguments, in match commentary, in memes. Because the feeling it describes, that particular, specific, deeply human experience of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, didn't disappear just because Cruz Azul finally won. That feeling is eternal. And now, every time you watch a team blow a lead, every time a player misses a sitter in the last minutes, every time a club collapses when the trophy is right there, you'll know the word for it, and you'll remember the blue machine from Mexico City that broke a language. If you made it this far, thank you. Drop a comment below. Which football club do you think deserves the title of most cursed? And does any team in your country have their own version of the Cruz Azul story? Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.